Hi, I'm Samuel Maddock. If you're living with persistent symptoms, you may well be asking two very frustrating questions. One, why do your symptoms not go away? And two, why do they keep changing? One day you may be experiencing pain or migraine, and the next it's fatigue, digestive issues, brain fog, or sleep disturbance. And it's easy to assume that each new symptom must mean a new problem or a new condition, and that over time, your body is gradually breaking down. But what if I said to you that that's not necessarily the case? And often, one underlying pattern can help explain many persistent symptoms that change and move around the body. And this is exactly what I'm going to explain to you today. So why do symptoms change, move around, flare up, or return? This is one of the biggest misconceptions that I've experienced in clinic over 20 years and through 20,000 plus consultations working with persistent symptoms. And that is that new symptoms doesn't necessarily mean a new problem or new condition. And in fact, one underlying pattern can help connect migraine, fatigue, pain, brain fog, and digestive issues. And in many cases, that pattern indicates that these aren't necessarily separate problems, but can relate to one system that has many expressions. And that system is the nervous system. And when the nervous system becomes more sensitive, it can influence the entire body. Because our body doesn't function as a series of separate parts. It functions as one connected whole. And the nervous system links all of this together. And if the nervous system becomes more sensitive, many symptoms can result. In my experience, people don't just become more symptomatic over time, they become more sensitive. Their nervous system becomes more sensitive. And this is why I developed what I call the sensitivity spectrum. This helps explain what happens when the nervous system becomes more sensitive. You'll see on one side we have high tolerance, good recovery, good resilience, and low symptoms. And small triggers don't necessarily lead to a big response in the body. But as our nervous system becomes more sensitive, we move towards high sensitivity, lower recovery, higher symptoms, and more unpredictability. Small triggers may lead to a bigger response in the body, may lead to changing symptoms day after day, or symptoms that move around the body. So the trigger isn't necessarily the problem, but the sensitivity within our nervous system, which can influence our body's response. The question here then becomes load versus tolerance. Load, the amount we can take on board from everyday life, such as stress load, inflammation load, or even mechanical load from our posture and movement, versus tolerance, not just putting up with and enduring symptoms, but our body's ability to take on load, adapt, and remain stable. So why do people stay stuck? Well, in my experience, it's because they're focusing on individual symptoms rather than understanding there may be an underlying pattern. That can lead to trying many different protocols, seeing many different specialists and practitioners, putting in lots of work, but unfortunately not getting the results they're looking for. So what are the three drivers of this sensitivity? Well, in my experience, over many years of research and working with thousands of patients, there are three main drivers. Safety first, which relates to the stress load that we're carrying in the nervous system itself. Healing from within, that relates to the internal stability, particularly inflammation load, and the way the gut talks to the brain and the immune system. And freedom to move relates to mechanical load. So our posture, movement, how we breathe, and the messages our muscles and joints are sending to our nervous system. So tolerance is this missing piece. Your body's ability to adapt, recover, and remain stable. And if tolerance increases, then sensitivity within the nervous system can start to reduce, symptoms can become more predictable, better days can follow, and a path forwards towards taking control of your symptoms. So where should you start? Well, your symptoms are unique. Your pattern of sensitivity is unique, so your next steps should be too. In my experience, over thousands of consultations, those three drivers are most often featuring. But whether for you it's your nervous system, or your gut-brain immune system, or the mechanical load you're carrying, that's your individual pattern. So what I would encourage you to do, if you haven't already, is complete one of my SMH scorecards. There's the Migraine Scorecard, Fatigue Scorecard, and the Chronic Pain Scorecard. This is a simple way to understand your starting point. And once you understand which are your drivers of sensitivity, it can take you a long way towards understanding your pattern. Because often the clearest way forward is not to discover a new diagnosis, but to understand the pattern that may underlie your persistent and changing symptoms.